The massive research vessel Horizon drifted silently through the empty sector of space. Captain James Miller stood at the bridge's main viewport, his weathered face reflecting off the reinforced glass. His eyes scanned the darkness ahead, where their sensors had detected something unusual just hours ago. "Captain, we're picking up more metallic signatures," reported Tom, the young sensor operator. His fingers danced across the holographic display. "They're big, really big." Miller nodded, stroking his graying beard. After 20 years of leading archaeological expeditions for the United Galactic Council, he had learned to trust his gut. And right now, his gut was telling him this was different from their usual finds of space debris and abandoned stations. "Take us closer, but keep the shields up," he ordered. "Full sensor sweep. Let's see what we're dealing with." As the Horizon moved forward, shapes began to emerge from the darkness. First one, then dozens, then hundreds of massive objects floating in perfect formation. The bridge crew fell silent as the ship's external lights illuminated the nearest object. It was a warship, ancient by the look of it, but massive in scale. Its hull was covered in strange markings that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Despite its apparent age, there wasn't a speck of rust or decay visible on its surface. "By the stars," whispered Dr. Roberts, their chief archaeologist. She adjusted her glasses, her hands trembling slightly. This is unprecedented. The design doesn't match any known civilization in our database." More ships became visible as they moved deeper into the formation. Carriers, destroyers, support vessels, an entire fleet preserved in the vacuum of space. Initial scans suggested they were at least 1,000 years old, maybe older. "Look at these weapon mounts," said Ton, displaying a close-up scan on the main screen. "They're so basic, like something from the early days of space combat. No quantum fields, no plasma arrays, just simple kinetic weapons and what looks like primitive energy beams." Several crew members chuckled. Miller didn't join in. Something about these ships made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. They might look simple, but his experience told him that appearances could be deceiving. "Send the initial report to the council," he ordered, "but keep our distance until we know more." Within hours, the news had spread across the galaxy. The United Galactic Council's members responded with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. The Altarians, known for their advanced technology, dismissed the discovery as quaint. The Moravian Empire called it a museum of obsolete engineering. But Miller couldn't shake the feeling they were all missing something important. While the rest of his crew focused on the obvious weapons and engines, he noticed other details. The way the hull plates fit together with impossible precision. The strange patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. The complete lack of any damage despite their age. "Dr. Roberts," he called out, "what do you make of these markings near what appears to be the command center?" She moved closer to the display, her eyes widening. "They're changing. Subtle, but definitely changing. Almost like they're scanning us," Miller finished. "This fleet isn't just preserved, it's active, running some kind of low-power mode we can barely detect." Before anyone could respond, a message came in from Council headquarters. They were sending a full research fleet to investigate. More importantly, they were opening the discovery to all member species. Soon, this sector would be crowded with ships from every major civilization, all eager to study, and likely mock, these primitive vessels. Miller stared at the ancient fleet, a sense of unease growing in his stomach. These ships were built by someone with technology far beyond what they understood, and somewhere in the back of his mind, a strange thought began to form. The markings, now that he looked more closely, reminded him of something he'd seen in the oldest human archives. But that was impossible, wasn't it? "Keep all sensors running," he ordered. "I want to know the moment anything changes. Something tells me we're about to learn just how wrong first impressions can be." 3 weeks after the discovery of the ancient fleet, the sector had become crowded with research vessels from every corner of the galaxy. Captain Miller watched from the Horizon's bridge as another Altarian science ship arrived, its sleek hull gleaming with the latest technological advancements. "Another group of experts here to tell us how primitive these ships are," Dr. Roberts said, rolling her eyes. She had spent days defending her findings that suggested the fleet was more complex than it appeared. Suddenly, all communication channels burst with urgent messages. Miller's screen lit up with emergency broadcasts from the outer sectors. Tom, still at his sensor station, went pale as he read the incoming data. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, voice shaking. "Multiple colonies under attack. Unknown ships. They're like nothing we've ever seen." The main screen showed scenes of devastation. Massive black ships emerged from nowhere, their hulls seeming to absorb both light and energy. The most advanced defensive systems in the galaxy crumbled before them like paper. These ships, which would soon be known as the Dark Swarm, moved with impossible speed and precision. "Get me a direct line to Council headquarters," Miller ordered. But before the communication officer could respond, more reports flooded in. The Altarian Defense Fleet, pride of the galaxy, had engaged the invaders. Their quantum weapons and advanced shields, which had drawn such amusing comparisons to the primitive ancient fleet, did nothing against the attackers. "The Altarian fleet. It's gone," Tom reported, his voice barely a whisper. "Destroyed in less than 10 minutes. Miller watched as panic spread through the research fleet around them. Ships began jumping to hyperspace, fleeing the sector. The Moravian Empire, which had laughed the loudest at the ancient vessels, was now reporting the loss of 3 core worlds. "Dr. Roberts," Miller called out, "bring up those markings we found on the command ship, the ones that were scanning us." The symbols appeared on his screen, shifting and changing as they had before. But now, with the galaxy in chaos, they seemed different, almost like a warning. "These patterns," he muttered, "they remind me of old Earth defense codes, from the earliest days of space travel." Before he could explore that thought, a massive explosion lit up the sector. The Dark Swarm had arrived at the Council's capital world. Its supposedly impenetrable defenses lasted less than an hour. "Sir," Tom called out, his voice steadier now, "look at the ancient fleet." Miller turned to the viewport. The old ships, which had been dormant for so long, were showing signs of power fluctuations. The strange markings on their hulls were glowing faintly, pulsing in a steady rhythm. "They're responding to the attack," Dr. Roberts said, excitement mixing with fear in her voice. "These ships, they were left here for a reason." Miller made a decision. While other research vessels fled, he ordered the Horizon to move closer to the ancient command ship. The markings on its hull grew brighter as they approached, almost like it was acknowledging their presence. "Sir, new message from Council headquarters," the communication officer announced. "All remaining forces are ordered to retreat to the safe zones. They're saying the galaxy is lost." Miller looked at the ancient fleet, then at the reports of destruction flooding his screens. The Dark Swarm was unstoppable, their technology too advanced for any modern defense. But these old ships, these primitive vessels that everyone had laughed at, they were built differently. Built to last. Built to fight. "No," he said firmly. "The galaxy isn't lost. Not yet." He turned to his crew, determination in his eyes. "Those markings aren't just familiar because they look like old Earth codes. They look familiar because they are Earth codes. And I think it's time we woke up our ancestors' fleet." The Horizon's research lab was crowded with the remaining crew members as Dr. Roberts connected her tablet to the main display. Captain Miller stood at the front, watching as ancient symbols scrolled across the screen. "I can't believe we missed it," Dr. Roberts said, shaking her head. "The markings aren't just similar to old Earth codes, they're an evolved version of them, like our language grew up." Miller pointed to a repeating pattern. "These symbols here, they're based on the original NASA deep space markers. But they're more complex, more alive." The room fell silent as a new set of data appeared. They were looking at technical readings from the ancient fleet's command ship, finally decoded after 3 days of non-stop work. The results were impossible to believe. The hull, Tom said, leaning forward, it's not made of any metal we know. It's made of billions of tiny machines. They repair damage, adapt to attacks, and learn from every hit they take. Dr. Roberts nodded excitedly. And look at the power systems. They don't use normal engines at all. These ships bend space itself to move. That's why they looked so simple from the outside. All the real technology is built into the structure itself. Outside the lab's window, they could see the ancient fleet. Now that they knew what to look for, the ship's true nature was becoming clear. What they had thought were weapon ports were actually sensor arrays of incredible power. The primitive engines were gateways to dimensions their modern science barely understood. But how? Someone asked. How did humans build this? And why don't we remember? Miller pulled up an old file on his personal device. Because we lost everything, he said quietly. 1,000 years ago, humanity reached heights we can barely imagine now. But something happened, something so big that we had to start over. The display showed images from Earth's earliest space archives. Bit by bit, they traced humanity's rise to power, their golden age of technology. And then, nothing. A gap in history that no one had ever properly explained. We didn't just lose our technology, Dr. Roberts realized. We chose to hide it. These ships weren't abandoned. They were waiting. A loud alarm interrupted them. Tom rushed to his sensor station. Multiple dark swarm ships detected. They found us. Miller turned to his crew. Everyone to their stations. Dr. Roberts, keep working on those codes. The answers we need are in there somewhere. As the crew scattered, Miller stayed in the lab for a moment longer, staring at the ancient fleet through the window. The ships were definitely more active now, their hulls shimming with subtle energy patterns that their modern sensors couldn't even detect properly. Computer, he called out, show me the latest scans of the fleet's AI systems. The display filled with new data. Unlike the simple computer cores used in modern ships, these vessels had something far more sophisticated. Each ship contained what looked like a living digital mind, all connected to a central intelligence in the command ship. It's not just a fleet, he whispered. It's one giant organism, and it's been evolving for 1,000 years, waiting for the right moment. Dr. Roberts, who had stayed behind, pointed to a new pattern emerging in the code. Look at this, Captain. The AI. It's not just waiting. It's testing us, all our scans, all our attempts to understand it. It's been watching, deciding if we're worthy to inherit what our ancestors built. Miller straightened his uniform and made his decision. Then let's prove we are. Begin full activation sequence. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity's legacy really looks like. Outside, the ancient fleet began to pulse with new energy. The ships that everyone had laughed at were waking up, and soon the galaxy would remember why humans had once been the most feared and respected species in space. The real question was, would they figure it out before the Dark Swarm arrived? Time was running out. The Dark Swarm fleet would reach their position in less than 6 hours. Inside the Horizon's main lab, Captain Miller and his team worked frantically to activate the ancient ships. The AI core is responding, Dr. Roberts announced, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. It calls itself Guardian, but it's asking for proof. Miller leaned over her shoulder, reading the strange mix of old and new human code that flowed across the screen. The AI wanted to verify they were truly human descendants before it would grant them control. Look at these questions, Tom said from his station. They're testing our knowledge of Earth, of human history before the Great Loss. The first question appeared on the main screen. What was humanity's first step to the stars? Apollo 11, Miller answered immediately. Neil Armstrong, first human on the moon. The ancient ships pulsed with a soft blue light. Another question appeared. When humans faced extinction, What did they create to survive? The crew looked at each other in confusion. This wasn't in any of their history books. The underground cities. An old engineer named Jack spoke up from the back. My grandmother used to tell stories passed down in our family. When the surface became dangerous, humanity built vast cities beneath the earth. More blue pulses. Guardian was listening. The final question flashed. What makes humans different from all other species? Miller thought hard. This wasn't about technology or strength. What made humans special? Our ability to hope, he said firmly. To face impossible odds and still believe we can win. To pass that hope down through generations, like this fleet, waiting for the moment we'd need it most. The lab fell silent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the command ship's markings began to glow with brilliant golden light. Connection established. A new voice spoke through their systems. It was deep, powerful, and somehow familiar. I am Guardian. After 1,000 years of sleep, I recognize you as the children of my creators. Dr. Roberts quickly connected her tablet to the main system. Guardian, the Dark Swarm are coming. We need your help to fight them. The Dark Swarm. Guardian's voice carried a note of recognition. They are the reason I was created. The reason humanity sacrificed everything to ensure your survival. The main screen filled with new images, technical readouts of the ancient fleet that made their modern technology look like children's toys. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering that could think and adapt on its own. Sir, Tom called out. The Dark Swarm fleet just jumped in. 5 minutes until they're in range. Miller straightened his uniform. Guardian, we don't have much time. Will you help us defend what's left of the galaxy? You have proven yourselves worthy of your inheritance, Guardian replied. Initiating full fleet activation. All hands, prepare for Neuralink. Suddenly, every crew member felt a gentle touch in their minds. The ancient ships were connecting with them, sharing knowledge and control systems that felt as natural as breathing. The fleet's power systems are at full capacity, Dr. Roberts reported, her eyes wide with wonder. The hulls are transforming, adapting to current battle conditions. It's beautiful. Outside, the ancient fleet was coming alive. Ships that had seemed dead and primitive were now gleaming with power, their surfaces rippling with energy patterns that modern science couldn't explain. Guardian, Miller called out, what are our chances against the Dark Swarm? Unknown, the AI responded. But as you said, Captain Miller, hope is what makes humans special. And after 1,000 years of evolution, this fleet represents humanity's highest achievement. The Dark Swarm will learn what it means to face human ingenuity. As the enemy ships approached, Miller felt the combined power of the ancient fleet at his command. The ships that everyone had laughed at were about to show the galaxy exactly why humanity's ancestors had been the most advanced civilization in history. All ships, he ordered, battle positions. Let's remind the galaxy who we really are. As the ancient fleet moved into formation, Guardian's presence filled the horizon systems. Through the Neuralink, every crew member could feel the incredible history of the ships flowing into their minds. I must show you the truth, Guardian announced. About Earth, about why we had to hide, about why the Dark Swarm fears what you've awakened. The main screen erupted with images from the past, a golden age of humanity that no one remembered. Earth, not as the humble homeworld they knew, but as the center of the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever seen. 1,000 years ago, Guardian explained, humans didn't just travel through space. They shaped it, built with it. The technology in these ships isn't primitive. It's so advanced it looks simple. Miller watched in awe as the images showed vast cities that floated in space, ships that could cross galaxies in moments, and machines that could rebuild entire worlds. But then we detected them, Guardian continued. The Dark Swarm, a species that devoured civilizations, stealing their technology and knowledge. They had already consumed 1,000 races when they found Earth. Dr. Roberts gasped as new images appeared. The Dark Swarm's first attack on Earth was devastating. Their ships were like living shadows, absorbing energy and matter alike. Humanity fought back, Guardian's voice filled with pride. For 10 years, Earth stood alone against an enemy that had never known defeat. But the Dark Swarm kept coming, learning from every battle, adapting to every weapon. Tom's sensors beeped urgently. The enemy fleet is spreading out, trying to surround us. Let them come, Guardian said calmly. First, you must understand what you're fighting for. The next images showed Earth scientists making their final discovery. The Dark Swarm weren't just copying technology. They were stealing the knowledge and essence of entire species, absorbing them into their collective. Your ancestors faced a choice, Guardian explained. They could fight to the end and lose everything, or sacrifice their civilization to ensure humanity would survive. They chose survival. Miller understood now. They hid Earth, made us forget, started us over as a simple species that wouldn't attract attention. Yes, Guardian confirmed. But they left behind this fleet, ships that could think, grow, and evolve, waiting for the day their children would be strong enough to reclaim their legacy. Through the neural link, the crew felt the ship's systems integrating with their minds. What had seemed like simple metal walls were actually billions of microscopic machines, all working together, all learning and adapting. The Dark Swarm is jamming all communication with the rest of the galaxy, Tom reported. They remember, Guardian said. They remember how close humanity came to defeating them. These ships carry weapons they've never adapted to, defenses they can't copy, and most importantly, the pure human spirit they could never absorb. Dr. Roberts studied the new data flowing across her screen. These ships, they're not just weapons. They're like seeds. Each one contains all of humanity's lost knowledge. Correct, Guardian replied. If we win this battle, humanity can rebuild, reclaim what was lost. The Dark Swarm knows this. That's why they're here in force. Outside, the enemy fleet had finished surrounding them. Thousands of black ships, each one carrying the stolen power of dead civilizations. Miller stood tall on his bridge. Through the neural link, he could feel every ship in the ancient fleet, ready for battle. The vessels that everyone had mocked were now humming with power that defied modern science. Guardian, he asked, how many battles have these ships fought? None, the eye replied. But they have spent 1,000 years preparing for this one. Shall we show the galaxy why humanity chose to hide its strength rather than lose it? Miller nodded, feeling the combined power of human history and technology at his command. Battle stations, everyone. Let's remind the Dark Swarm why they feared us in the first place. The Dark Swarm struck first. Thousands of black ships fired their stolen weapons, filling space with enough energy to destroy a planet. Captain Miller watched calmly as the massive attack approached the ancient fleet. Defensive systems engaging, Guardian announced. Observe what real human engineering can do. The attack that had destroyed the most advanced fleets in the galaxy washed over the ancient ships like water. The vessels' hulls rippled and shifted, millions of tiny machines working together to absorb and redirect the energy. Impossible, Tom shouted, checking his readings. The shields, they're not just blocking the attacks. They're learning from them. Dr. Roberts nodded excitedly. That's why these ships look so simple. They're not built to fight one way. They adapt to any attack. 1,000 years of evolution packed into every hull plate. Through the neural link, Miller felt the fleet's response building. The weapons that everyone had laughed at were powering up, but not in any way modern science could understand. Target locked, Guardian reported. Initiating counterattack with base protocol 1. Miller watched in awe as the ancient fleet came alive. Weapons that had seemed primitive now pulsed with golden light. The ships moved in perfect formation, their movements smooth like a single living thing. The first shot came from the command ship, a beam of pure white light that didn't travel through space. It bent space itself, When it hit the nearest Dark Swarm vessel, the black ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. "By the stars," someone whispered on the bridge. "No," Guardian corrected. "By human ingenuity. These weapons don't just destroy. They erase matter from reality itself. The Dark Swarm can't adapt to them because there's nothing left to learn from." The battle erupted in full force. The Dark Swarm attacked with every weapon they had stolen over centuries, but the ancient fleet was always one step ahead. Where modern ships would have died instantly, humanity's legacy fought back with impossible power. "Look at the hull patterns." Dr. Roberts pointed to the nearest ship. The marking that everyone had dismissed as decorative were flowing like liquid metal, forming new shapes and configurations with each attack. Through the neural link, Miller understood what he was seeing. These ships weren't just fighting. They were evolving in real time, becoming stronger with every moment of combat. "Multiple Dark Swarm ships attempting to retreat," Tom reported, his voice filled with disbelief. They're running away." "Chase protocols activated," Guardian announced. "They will not escape to threaten humanity again." The ancient fleet moved with devastating precision. Ships that had seemed slow and clumsy now danced through space, their movements defying physics itself. Each attack was calculated by minds that had spent centuries preparing for this exact battle. Miller felt a surge of pride as he watched the Dark Swarm fleet breaking apart. The enemy that had terrified the galaxy was being systematically taken apart by ships everyone had mocked as outdated. "Warning," Guardian suddenly announced. "Dark Swarm mothership detected. They're gathering their remaining forces for one final attack." A massive black ship emerged from hyperspace, its hull crawling with stolen technology from 1,000 dead civilizations. It was bigger than a moon, radiating power that made the sensors scream in protest. "All ships," Miller commanded, feeling the fleet's power flowing through him. "Form up on my position. Guardian, activate all remaining combat protocols. Let's show them what humanity's best can really do." The ancient fleet moved into an attack formation that had been perfected over centuries. Each ship glowed with power that modern science couldn't explain, ready to face an enemy that had destroyed countless civilizations. "For Earth," Miller said quietly. "For everyone who worked to give us this chance." The final battle was about to begin, and the galaxy would never again laugh at human technology. The Dark Swarm mothership loomed before them, a massive black shape that seemed to swallow the stars themselves. Inside the horizon, Captain Miller felt the ancient fleet's systems humming through the neural link, ready for the final battle. "Enemy ship is charging weapons," Tom reported. "Energy readings are off the charts." "Let them come." Guardian's voice was calm and confident. "For 1,000 years, we have prepared for this moment. Now, witness humanity's greatest achievement." The mothership fired, a beam of pure darkness, made from the combined technology of 1,000 dead civilizations, streaked across space toward the ancient fleet. It was enough power to crack a planet in half. "Initiating final protocol," Guardian announced. "All ships, commence unity formation." Through the neural link, Miller felt something extraordinary happening. The ancient fleet wasn't just working together, it was becoming one. Ships linked together, their golden energy patterns flowing between them like rivers of light. "The hull machines," Dr. Roberts exclaimed. "They're combining, growing." This was their true purpose all along. Where there had been hundreds of separate ships, now a single massive vessel took shape. It gleamed like a newborn star, its surface alive with shifting patterns that told the story of human innovation. "Total integration complete," Guardian reported. "Captain Miller, you have command of humanity's ultimate weapon, the legacy ship." The Dark Swarm's attack hit their combined shields. But instead of trying to block it, the legacy ship absorbed the energy, its hull patterns spinning faster and faster. "Return fire," Miller ordered, feeling the incredible power at his command. "Show them what humanity can really do." The legacy ship responded, not with beams or missiles, but with pure human ingenuity given form. Golden light erupted from 1,000,000 points on its surface, each beam carrying a different frequency, a different attack that the Dark Swarm had never seen. The mothership's defenses, built from stolen technology, tried to adapt. But they couldn't copy what they couldn't understand, couldn't steal what was evolving faster than they could absorb. "Their shields are failing," Tom called out. "We're actually doing it." Through the neural link, Miller felt Guardian's satisfaction. "Of course we are. This was always humanity's strength, not just building technology, but understanding it, growing with it. The Dark Swarm can only copy. We create." The mothership launched its entire fighter fleet, thousands of black ships swarming toward them. But the legacy ship was ready. Its surface rippled, and suddenly the space around them was filled with microscopic machines, billions of them, each one carrying a piece of human knowledge. "The final gift from our ancestors," Guardian explained as the tiny machines tore through the Dark Swarm fighters. "Not just a weapon, but a key to restore everything that was lost." The mothership tried to retreat, but it was too late. The legacy ship's combined power reached out, and with a flash of golden light, the enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for so long simply ceased to exist. Silence fell across space. Then, one by one, communication channels lit up as the watching galaxy realized what had happened. The Dark Swarm, the unstoppable force that had destroyed so many civilizations, had been defeated by the very ships they had laughed at. "Guardian," Miller asked, "what happens now?" "Now," the AI replied, "we rebuild. The machines that made this victory possible carry all of humanity's lost knowledge. Your people can reclaim their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as teachers." Dr. Roberts was already studying the new data flowing across her screen. "It's incredible. Medical technology, clean energy, space travel, everything our ancestors achieved, preserved and improved over 1,000 years." Miller looked out at the stars, thinking about how everything had changed. The galaxy had laughed at these ships, thinking them primitive and weak. Now they understood what humanity had known all along. True strength wasn't in how powerful your weapons looked, but in how far you were willing to go to protect the future. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them it's time to come home. Time to remember who we really are." The legacy ship glowed softly in the darkness, a beacon of hope and a reminder that sometimes the greatest power lies not in what you show the world, but in what you keep hidden until the right moment. The galaxy would never laugh at human technology again.